Which conspiracy theory do you believe is true? The line on the laundry detergent measuring cup is higher than it needs to be. Oh yes. And the hole your toothpaste comes out of is far too big etc. David Kelly didn't kill himself. Now, for those who are too young to remember, shortly after 9/11, the US and the UK decided to invade Iraq. The rationale was that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, WMDs. Even though the UN's chief weapons inspector wasn't convinced, a prominent UK weapons expert, one David Kelly, leaked to a journalist that he believed the report alleging WMDs was sexed up in order to give an excuse to go to war, and repeated his claims in front of a parliamentary committee. In so doing, he massively embarrassed the government, because he was essentially accusing them of fabricating evidence to give them an excuse to go to a war they'd already decided to fight. 2 days later, Kelly took a huge dose of coke proximal and slit his wrist, severing his ulnar artery, on a walk in the woods near his home. The important thing to remember about the dossier on Iraq's weapons of mass destruction, and the thing that made his testimony so damning, was that he wrote it. He basically testified that they had taken his dossier and changed things to justify a war. That most if not all countries have done experiments on humans against their will. That's a fact. That Coca-Cola came out with new Coke in order to change the original formula to corn syrup from real sugar without people complaining about the subtle difference. Just buy Mexican Coke. I see it sold pretty much everywhere. Michael Jordan's 2-year stint in baseball was actually a 2-year NBA ban for gambling on games. No, it was a marketing deal for Space Jam. The original nuclear tests in the US Southwest were done to also test the effects of radiation on human populations. Not a conspiracy theory. They told civilians to sit on their front porches, watch the bombs, and wear a pin that records radiation levels. Most of the votes on Reddit moving things to the top are from troll farms and corporations. Based on shit I've seen and hear, monopolies, at least in the US, are only illegal on paper, and the ones you hear about getting stopped likely pissed someone off. I just think they're smart enough to avoid leaving a paper trail. Of course major companies collude with each other to keep prices high, they've just learned how to keep it from being definitively proved. I think they have cloned humans. Exhibit A, Guxy, Maine. The first NBA draft lottery was rigged to give Patrick Ewing to the Knicks. On the video the commissioner pulls an envelope out with a clearly bent corner, and sighs a huge sigh of relief when he reads what's inside. Well, that worked out really well for them. Former Knicks/NBA fan. Throwback Thursday was invented so that social media apps, mainly Facebook, could build and develop facial recognition technology showing the faces of people over time. Edit, a word. Edit 2. There are a lot of people replying who don't understand a huge percentage of Facebook users these days are your parents, uncles, aunts, and grandparents who have, literally, decades worth of printed photos sitting in show boxes that would never see the light of day again, if not for schemes like these. TBT is not for you 20 to 30 somethings who are simply reposting a photo you took in college 10 years ago. All the novels written by Dean Koontz are in fact written by a golden retriever. The man in all of the author pictures was hired because no one would take a dog novelist seriously. What? Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated by the FBI. Before he even died he was sent a threatening letter from the FBI that basically said stop doing your doing, or we'll expose your cheating to your wife. There had been another man called Joel that James Earl Ray had met before who he claimed was deeply involved in the case. He even asserted he didn't personally shoot King, but may have been involved in the assassination unknowingly. Heck, even the King family doesn't believe that James Earl Ray killed King. There's still more other info online about this than I wanna talk about, but honestly from the point of view of the FBI at that time, it makes sense to kill King. He was becoming a big influence in the black community, and so to combat that, they cold easily killed him and set someone else up like Ray to take the fall. The US government has always been incredibly anti-socialist. The amount of coups they have backed in South America alone is staggering, and that's not even mentioning the rest of the world. You can Google it and see for yourself. Here is a link to a list of US Buked regime changes on Wikipedia. You don't have to trust Wiki, but you can use the list as a jumping off point to direct your googling. The FBI also assassinated Fred Hampton, the leader of the Black Panthers, so it is no stretch of the imagination that they would assassinate MLK Jr. I would welcome any data anyone else can offer on this. My sample size is admittedly small, about 8 Vietnamese people, so this could just be a statistical fluke. But when 6 people, who have almost certainly never met each other before, independently claim that all Vietnamese people have fruit powers, it makes you wonder whether it might just be true. I don't know if I buy my own conspiracy theory, and I'm not entirely sure what exactly the conspiracy is, but I'll repost the same thing I always post when this question is asked. I had a Vietnamese roommate in college. One time someone mentioned apples and my roommate said he could rip them in half. We all called bullshit, and so he did it to shut us up. It was pretty cool. But then he claimed that all Vietnamese people can do it. That didn't sound right. So now whenever I meet a new Vietnamese person, I ask, in as polite, and not creepy, and not racist a way as I can, if they can rip an apple in half, and I'll be damned if every person I've ever asked goes, yeah, sure. Also, most of them follow up with, all Vietnamese people can rip apples in half. Then I always ask if that's just how people in Vietnam eat apples, and they always say, no, we just eat them the normal way, but all Vietnamese people can rip them in half if they want to. I truly don't know if I'm being trolled or not. If I ask the question and have an apple, I'll always give it to the person who claims they can do this, and they always can. So there's some truth to it, but I cannot figure out why, in my experience, almost all Vietnamese people claim that all Vietnamese people can rip apples in half. That's a weird thing to claim. How are they so sure about what every other Vietnamese person can do? Are they implying that Laotians and Thai people can't do this? Is it a special trick they teach only in Vietnam? I would never claim that all Americans can juggle, or that all white people can juggle. See, I don't even know if they are suggesting it's a racial trait or a cultural skill. Or is it that Vietnamese people are just really proud of their culture, so they like to fib about the skills everyone else has? And then when tested with an apple, all Vietnamese people are just so confident that they're awesome enough to do it, that they just brute force the apple in half. Or was there a meeting once, and all Vietnamese people realized that they could help each other by making wild fruit claims about the skills of the Vietnamese, so that they could trick dumb white boys like me into giving them free fruit to test their powers? That's crazy. I thought I was the only one who knew about this. My family has a lot of Vietnamese friends, and we are very close. They have some sort of party every year, and we are invited, because we are almost like family. They always have an apple cracking contest among the adults and older teens, and everyone can do it. I asked them how, and they responded with the same thing, all Vietnamese people can. I genuinely think the FBI and the Kennedys had Marilyn Monroe killed. That every few weeks this question is posted by them to check if we've discovered them yet. Click on the emoji till you can hide a link in an emoji. The phrase conspiracy theory has been purposefully warped to mean something farcical and crazy to discredit people who call out criminal conspiracies. Governments spread wild and crazy conspiracy theories to discredit conspiracy theorists and make them look like lunatics. That way, when someone actually finds a real conspiracy, people will just go, oh, it's one of those crazy guys. Muddying the waters is an old political game, and it's being played more actively today than ever before. I've always thought that competition reality shows purposefully send someone home each season that deserves to stay, so that people get mad and talk about it online and get other people interested in watching the show. I think they have who they already want to win at the beginning. There's no way I'll ever believe that Pat Tillman's death was accidental friendly fire. I watched a documentary about that a while back. I wish I remember the name. It was wild. It came to mind that women's makeup is actually secretly damaging their skin, so when they see it, they'd be convinced to buy more makeup. I feel like the round earth theory is true. No way. The earth is obviously painted on the glass surrounding a light bulb known as the sun. That Corey Feldman is right, and there is a casting couch for kids in Hollywood to get roles, and parents are too blinded by the thought of stardom that they turned a blind eye in the past. I really hope it isn't true, but that Harvey Weinstein in the movie Bombshell make me fearful that scum is everywhere in that town. Crazy part about this is that both Shirley Temple and Judy Garland brought it to light decades ago, and we still don't care, as a society, to do anything about it. That hot dog manufacturers have a secret agreement with the bun companies to produce different amounts of each product. I don't know the numbers exactly, but for example, you need dogs for a cookout, so you buy some, and the only available package size is 8 hot dogs. Then, you go and get some buns which only come in packs of 12. Therefore, once you cook your 8 hot dogs, you still have leftover buns, which means you will buy more hot dogs to use those buns, and you will then have to buy more buns to use those hot dogs that were bought to finish the original buns. The cycle continues. Steve Martin already went to jail for exclaiming this theory circa Father of the Bride. I'm tempted to believe the one about Michael Jordan's first retirement being a secret suspension for betting on games. If I was Michael Jordan, I would bet on my games too. Pedophile rings in high places of power, government, Hollywood, church. Needs stopped. That Dunsknida, or however you spell it, is a real creep and child predator and should have never worked for Nickelodeon. Sony had Michael Jackson killed so that they could secure the rights to the Beatles discography. I read one about MJ being killed because he was the one who wanted to expose all the elite pedophiles in Hollywood, and his ranch with the kids was actually a sanctuary for victims. He was framed as a pedo himself to tarnish his reputation, and no one would believe anything he said. Most Select secretly knows the Simpsons children are prank calling him, but is playing along with them because he enjoys hearing them laugh. Edit. Holy shit, this blew up. Thanks everyone. Yeah, this been a fan theory for a while among the Simpsons fan community. Whoa. Edit. Thanks you guys, now it looks weird to spell it. Whoa. Paul Pierce pooped his pants in an NBA game and pretended he hurt his ankle to get a wheelchair off court. He already admitted he shit his pants. Plenty of conspiracy theories are largely accepted to be true. As a matter of historical record, for instance, Nixon and LBJ conspired to prolong the Vietnam War to help Nixon's 1972 election campaign. Google, Facebook, etc. conspired with NSA to share data. PRISM program. NSA conspired to infiltrate bodies like NIST and weaken encryption standards. Bullrun program. CIA used whorehouses to kidnap people and drug them with LSD to experiment with behavior control. MK Ultra, Tuskegee syphilis conspiracy, etc. etc. Nixon really went behind LBJ's back and monkey wrenched Nixon's word peace talks to help his own campaign. LBJ found out about it because of a secret CIA hidden microphone. LBJ wasn't in on it. In fact, he said Nixon had committed treason. He couldn't prosecute Nixon because, to do that, they'd have to disclose the existence of the bug, and they felt that was more valuable. There are only 42 questions ever asked on this sub, and they are randomly posted by a bot. I think the bot needs work though. This one was just asked 2 days ago. The FBI killed MLK. Man, I hate acronym on acronym violence. Government keep asking people on r/AskReddit about the conspiracies they believe in, so that they can do better job at hiding it. Wait a minute. Mattress firm is a front for folks to launder money through. The amount of them in my town is absurd. There's like 3 within a mile stretch. 2 of them are across the street from each other. I'm not buying it, just like people aren't regularly buying mattresses. I believe this one 100%. It just makes no sense for there to be that many. In my area we literally have 3 mattress stores in the same strip mall complex. Like, mom, there's no reason for that. JFK was only wounded by LHO's bullet. He was actually killed by a Secret Service agent's bullet accidentally, which is why there was such an obvious cover-up. LHO's bullet was a Full Metal Jacket bullet which hit JFK in the throat before ricocheting into Governor Connolly. The bullet which blew up half of JFK's head was almost certainly a hollow point bullet. Instead of continuing its trajectory like a FMJ would, the hollow point expands after the first object that it hits, which was JFK's head. There was one known weapon in play which was using hollow point bullets that day. It was a submachine gun which did not have the safety on and was operated by George Hickey. In the melee after LHO shots were fired, the theory is that Hickey accidentally discharged his weapon and killed the president. The Secret Service could never let anyone know that they had accidentally killed the president, hence their behavior in the aftermath. This is one of my favorites, because it's not a sinister far-reaching four-dimensional plot, it's just somebody fucking up, and people trying to hide that fuck up. That this thread pops up whenever there is a massive conspiracy currently underway and they want a barometer on how close people are to the truth. I mean, with coronavirus approaching its highest numbers, this would make a ton of sense. I think the last one was near the whole Epstein situation. If this is the case, then they are doing fine, because there's only a couple corona conspiracies in here. Our phones are listening to us. Not only that, but they are also watching us. Loads of tech devs have even said so. Edit. It's not necessarily watching, but more like tracking, using search history, contacts, locations, etc., which can designate specific interests in ads and stuff like that. But who knows if anyone uses cameras, which is entirely possible, but difficult. It's not like they'd say. So anyways, so who knows?